Not every great career starts with a degree or expensive equipment. Some start with a basic set of tools and a willingness to get to work. We talk to junk removal pros, painters, poop scoopers, and exterior cleaners who built successful blue-collar businesses from the ground up. And their stories might help you see what's possible if you're looking to make a change in your own path.
We started our business with $300. All you need is a dolly, some straps, and you could rent a truck from U-Haul. One of the first mistakes we made is we actually thought we could just dispose of everything. So you always want to do your research and make sure what your dump takes and does not take. For example, chemicals we cannot dispose of, flammables or tires cannot dispose of. If we go against the rules and we dump it anyways, we could receive a hefty fine. We will keep the doors closed and just toss these items over, trying to put the light items on the bottom. For example, this heavy table will go on top of the pillows, the boxes, so it's not moving around. Typically for a pickup like this, we would be at about $300, including dump fees and everything else. But since the client went ahead and took it out curbside, we're gonna hook them up and drop down the price to $250. So when it comes to pricing, you always want to keep a few things in mind. One, accessibility to the area. Is it first floor, third floor, elevator access? Two, how many items are you removing? Three, the location itself. Four, the weight of the items. Now that fourth one is a key because depending on your weight is what you're going to pay at the actual dump.
Pricing junk removal is simple. It all comes down to capacity. However much volume of our truck or trailers you take up, that's how we charge. Everything is based off of 16 cubic yards, which is the size of our trailer, is $800. We recognize that furniture in the front room or the garage is gonna load faster and take up more space than small items down in the basement. However, to make it simple for our clients and for our guys in the field, we price all based on capacity. And over time, it'll average it out. Our goal is to stay right at 20% profitability. When you're at 20% throughout the year, year over year, you can make a healthy living supporting your family and your community.
We're at the dump/transfer site. It's a pretty basic process. You come in, you get weighed, dump, come out, get weighed again, and I'm just gonna go to the office, pay, and that's it. So the way we got our first clients was actually posting on all the free platforms. We posted in all our local Facebook groups and offered pickups. Besides that, I let families and friends know about our services, and a lot of them were actually interested.
The simplest way to compete with the large franchises and your other competitors is to get out there and be part of your community. We're giving money, time, and dollars and volunteer hours to charities. We're putting on our own electronic collections events, giving back to the community free of charge. Chambers, people that talk in the community, they'll see you and they'll give you a chance.
So if you're thinking of getting started in this business, the only thing I would recommend before jumping in is doing a ton of research. What areas you can dump in? Do you need permits, licensing, insurances?
Focus on recycling. There's tons of junk removal companies out there that stack up their trucks and trailers and take them right to the landfill. In order to impact your community and differentiate yourself from your competitors, figure out a way to keep more material out of the landfill. Now what you're doing is solving the same problem of removing unwanted items from people's homes and businesses, and yet you're doing it in a different way.
Last year, we made $1.5 million, and we're still growing.
We started with less than $5,000.
When you're starting out your painting company, you want to check with your local governments and agency, make sure that you have any licenses that are required for you to be operating up to par for your trade.
I highly recommend you getting a paint rep with whatever paint company that you're choosing. You go in and you tell them you're starting a paint company, you need their help and you want to bring them business, and they will work with you. We go through the blueprints together. They're going to go through and figure out what's going to be best and what the best rate they're going to give for us. So the collaboration and that partnership with them is just as important as their quality of paint.
You don't want to start a job without a contract. When I was just getting started, I did a big job and I was shy to ask for a deposit. We did the job, delivered it, and the client said, "Oh, well, you did it too quick, so I'm not paying you that." And we had no contract, so, we just had to deal with it. Interior painting is a lot easier than exterior. So if you're getting started and you're just a one-man team, picking up projects like interior painting is good. Painting 1 to 2 bedrooms. We don't do a lot of commercial, but we were able to contract 18 Panda Express restaurants and we did great. Commercial is really more of the speed, move quick, and you have to be flexible. A lot of the times you have to work weekends, you have to work nights. But if you don't have the manpower, you don't want to be involved.
Prep is key in any situation. Don't start your project if you didn't do the prep appropriately. Go get whatever you're missing, come back and do it the right way.
We're gonna need some basic items just for like the prep work. So you wanna start off by getting a caulk gun. You'll be able to caulk like baseboards, trim, and things like that. Shrink-free spackle to be able to fill nail holes and things like that on the interior of jobs. We really like to use frog tape. Now this is the blue, it's kind of like a universal tape, but you have the other colors you can get. They have like different levels of adhesion for different applications on the job. You get some masking plastic or paper for masking off things on interiors or exterior jobs.
I like to make sure and have like a lot of small rollers on hand. They come in all different sizes. You know, I like to have a good cut-in brush. You can tell on the quality brushes, and I'll show you right here real quick. These are usually a nylon or a man-made hair kind of thing. And this is like a horse hair. This is a very inexpensive brush right here. And I would normally use this for anything that I was gonna kind of throw away or not really care about this brush. This brush I keep and clean all the time. It's just, it'll give you a nice crisp edge every time. This is my go-to brush. You can spend anywhere up to $30 on these things. Totally worth it. Will make your project better, will make you happy because it will make your project easier.
Now that the walls have been prepped, Dylan is getting ready to cut and roll. Cutting is the edging that happens around the perimeter of the wall. We use a 3-inch brush to cut the edges. Right after the brush work, we use a 4-inch roller to erase the brush strokes for a perfect, even finish. Now that the cutting has been completed, we have the painter coming in with an 18-inch roller. When you're rolling, you just gotta make sure you don't hit your ceilings and you spread the paint evenly. Don't forget that each paint requires a specific roller. Here, we're using a 3/4 nap for a flat finish. These 18-inch rollers, they pick up a lot of paint, which helps you cover the area faster. Typically, you wanna do 2 coats on every wall. If you have a darker color and you're trying to cover with a light color, you may have to do 3 coats.
Today we're picking up some dog poo. Well, it's pretty simple. They poop, we scoop. That's about it. So we walk around the property and clean up all the poop and take it with us. I was working at another company. I was interviewing a guy and one of his references was a dog poo company. And I was just like, what the heck is this? I'm like, picking up dog poo. And he's like, don't knock it, man. This guy's doing over $1 million a year. And so I called up the reference guy. I heard you're picking up $1.5 million of dog poo. What the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
And this guy could basically hear him smile over the phone. Yeah. He's like, if I work 45 minutes a day, that's a tough day of work for me. And that was it. Our best day to date has probably been close to the $5,000 mark. Best month, 30,000. Within 1 year, we hit #1 on Google. Year 3, we kept on growing, did about 150,000. And now year 4, which is what we're in now, we're aiming between 200 and 250.
What do we got to work with for picking up poop?
Just a little rake, a rake and a bucket, rake and a shovel. We got the dustpans in the back here. It doesn't take much to rake a turd. $4, $30, $20, and I don't know, $75 total. Most of our customers are residential.
Yeah.
So it's like we just clean up their whole yard. Mostly backyards, the occasional front yard. Good job. Good job. It's like this is kind of like the neighborhood kid job, just like lawn care used to be, but now lawn care is a huge industry. Yeah. And that's where this is going. But I started it with a $300 minivan. And this. So spring cleanup is $1 a minute, however long it takes. Minimum charge $60, $60 an hour. I think this one is around like $45, $50 a week.
Okay.
So we try to stay around that $1 a minute range. A residential property ranges from like $11 to like $20 a week, depending on the amount of dogs. I looked at all of the other poo companies when we were looking to start in this. You do your market research and see what they're doing. No offense to any of them, they just complicated the heck out of this thing. I'm like, why are you charging a $5 administration fee? I don't like messing around, so I was just like, well, we're gonna do flat rate for everybody. The theory, whether it's a big yard or a small yard, the profitability will balance out because we're gonna be more profitable on a small yard, less profitable on a big yard. For us, 5-star service is just exceeding expectations. Meeting expectations is great, that's what they expect, but if you exceed expectations by a tiny little bit, it blows their mind. It's like if there's a little bit of garbage on the property, we'll pick up the garbage. We're not going to pick up a poo and not pick up like a wrapper that blew into the yard. It's the little bit of extra service that provides the exponential feeling that this company goes above and beyond for you. Yeah, this is probably a pretty average sized yard. Like we'd be in and out within 3 to 5 minutes. It depends on the speed of how fast the person goes, the size of the yard, how compressed the routes are, but 30 stops a day is pretty common. That could be like 6 to 8 hours. We could crush 40 in 10 hours. Because if they're compressed, then you can do a lot more, obviously. So the more we grow, the more compressed the routes we get, the more efficiency we'll have. Ah, the smell of money. I just plastered our business all over the internet as much as I could do for free. And then the most profitable marketing that we did, it wasn't free, but it was SEO. If you can find a good SEO person to get you to the top of Google, that's what we did.
If you can start any company, you can start a cleaning company. It doesn't necessarily take exterior cleaning skills. There's a business mindset that you either have or you don't. You don't need fancy equipment. You just have to start small and then take your money and reinvest it in the company. We started as a window washing company, so you can start out with just the squeegee and soap and a bucket and some really good microfiber cloths. If you were starting with power washing, I think that the cost might be a little more because the equipment costs a little more, so window washing might be a nice, foot in the door. You have to create your own luck in entrepreneurship. There's no such thing as having good luck. You have to make things happen. Join local networking groups. They're very, very, very low cost per month. And that's like your way of getting your name out in the community. We're a part of 2 networking groups and they've been huge. You now have gained lifelong referrals. We track how a customer found us. Our first largest is Google and our second largest lead generator is referrals. So just based off that, if you're starting a company, start supporting other local businesses and then they'll support you in return. Everything about your business is going to be based on networking, who you know, and making other people feel happy and special.